I loved Ethan for 10 years. Exhausting every scheme to marry him. Even driving away his cherished first love. Through 6 years of marriage, Ethan slept with every woman who crossed his path. No matter how he hurt me. I never considered leaving until 8 months pregnant. I caught him bringing a woman to our marital bed. During my hysterical confrontation, he sneered, "Ivy, you vowed not to interfere in my private life when begging for this marriage. Feel cheated? Go fuck someone else." His eyes raked over my swollen belly. Use protection. Wouldn't want to taint the foster heir. Shoving me during our struggle. He sent me tumbling down the stairs. My daughter and I died clutching each other. Now reborn to this cursed day. I clutch anatomy scan photos showing my baby girl. Pink onesies from the baby boutique still litter the foyer where I dropped them. The cloying perfume hits first, a woman's scent. My trembling hand traces discarded neckties and lace lingerie leading to our half-open bedroom door. Last life. I charged and screaming. This time, I sit calmly on the sofa. Waiting. Ethan emerges wearing post-sex arrogance like cologne. Having guests? I ask evenly. Wiping morning sickness bile. His mistress descends wearing my silk robe, Luna. The historical drama actress I binge-watched last night. She clings to Ethan. Displaying hickeys like trophies. "Who's this?" She purrs. "My wife." "Well, the foster family broodmare." Ethan corrects. Groping her breast. Luna's mock gasp turns breathy as he bites her neck. "Why the act? You knew Mrs. Foster would be home." He smirks at me. Our marriage was transactional. The Fosters saved the Grants from bankruptcy. Your family still leeches off our name. He's right. My parents' mansion. My brother's sports cars, all funded by the Fosters. The engagement ring's 2-carat diamond burns my finger. Nodding slowly, I unclasp the platinum band. It clinks against the coffee table. Then let's end this transaction. Ethan's smirk falters. Luna's nails dig into his arm. My palm cradles the life he'll never hold. I'm keeping my daughter. The Grants will return every cent with interest within 5 years. Don't be absurd. He scoffs. You'll come crawling back. The front door closes behind me. Spring sunlight warms my face as I whisper to my kicking baby. We're free. The Grant women will write our own story now. I understand. Sorry to bother you. I walked to the entryway and put back on the shoes I'd just taken off. Opening the door to leave step by step. Somehow I knew this was the moment I'd walk out of Ethan's life forever. Wait. Ethan called out. His voice trembling unexpectedly. I didn't turn around. Didn't say goodbye. Ethan. I won't wait for you anymore. Holding my belly. I trudged through the gated community until I finally hailed a cab. As I opened the car door, I glanced back one last time. This ending might actually be the best for me. At least I wouldn't repeat my past life's mistake of fighting for a man who never loved me. Nearly losing my life over it. Unable to return to my parents' home. I went to my old apartment from before marriage. I washed all the bedding. Scrubbed every inch of floors and furniture until midnight. The cramping pain in my abdomen kept throbbing. Curling up with a pillow. I suddenly felt exhausted. My face felt cold and wet. I'd been crying without realizing it. 10 years of unrequited love ending so abruptly left an ache in my chest. Tossing all night about keeping the baby. I knew Ethan was meanwhile basking in Luna's affection. Completely enamored. The rising star kept posting coy social media updates, romantic dinners. Luxury gifts. All shot in settings I recognized too well. Our marital home. One photo even showed a tall silhouette cooking midnight snacks in our kitchen through the window reflection. Fans went wild over that post. I stared at it for hours. The man who wouldn't fetch water when I had 104 degrees fever now played chef for another woman. When the foster group's board meeting convened the following Monday, I returned to the mansion. Packing swiftly, I carried my documents downstairs only to collide with Ethan rushing home. He snatched my luggage and threw it aside. What are you doing? I frowned. Ivy. That's my line. He snapped. Are you really pulling this childish runaway act? What's next? Another suicide threat. Why would I kill myself? I gripped the banister, remembering past desperation. My reawakened self valued survival above all. Men like Ethan weren't worth dying for. He sneered. What new scheme is this? I don't have time for your drama. Cry wolf too often and no one cares. You're misunderstanding. I met his gaze. I came to move out. Ethan. Let's divorce. He froze momentarily before scoffing. Divorce? While carrying my heir? Think this baby gives you leverage? Silently descending. I handed him prepared papers. Yes. I want out. I want nothing from the foster family. I just want to end this. My 6-year marriage to Ethan had only provided this villa's upkeep, while the world saw me as the glamorous Mrs. Foster. Every cent I spent came from my web novel royalties. Since I'd never relied on Ethan's wealth during our marriage, I certainly wouldn't start during divorce proceedings. Ethan skimmed the documents before dismissing them with an icy chuckle that pierced like shards of glass. Walking away empty-handed? You're 30. Ivy. Still this naive? He loomed over me, his shadow swallowing the room. Without the Foster empire, how long before your father's mediocre business collapses? Who'll fund your family's extravagant lifestyle then? I leaned away, frost hardening my gaze. You can't chain me with family obligations anymore. Ethan. My quiet defiance made him retreat, his aristocratic features turning glacial. Why now? When I remained silent, he relented slightly. Is this about bringing women home? Fine. It won't happen again. I laughed bitterly for the first time in years, ripping off the pearl bracelet he'd given me. Gemstones rained across the carpet. I'm done being your puppet. I'd rather scrub floors than endure your emotional torture for another day. The slammed door echoed his rage. I expected divorce papers within days. Instead, my mother called gushing, darling. Ethan just sent me couture collections. Your brother a new sports car. And your father prime development land. Everyone says I'm blessed having a daughter who married so well. Bile rose in my throat. Return everything. We're divorcing. My voice cracked explaining Ethan's affairs. His eternal resentment over his first love Amelia. Mother tooted. Powerful men have flings. Be grateful he honors you as Mrs. Foster. Focus on giving him an heir instead of this nonsense. At Ethan's office, he greeted me with cold amusement. Here to apologize? He slid a black card across his mahogany desk. 5 million. Behave yourself. I stared at this stranger I'd loved for a decade. If you hate me so much, why cling to this farce? His knuckles whitened around his fountain pen. This isn't some romance novel. Ivy. I lost my capacity for love when Amelia left. You'll always be Mrs. Foster, that should be enough. It's not. My wedding band clicked against the glass desk. I won't spend my life competing with ghosts and mistresses. Let me go. Ethan's smile chilled worse than his anger. You'll crawl back when your family's empire crumbles. They already chose luxury over you. He nodded at his security. Escort Mrs. Foster home. As guards approached, I finally understood this gilded cage had no door. Only wings forged in fire could break free. I left the card gleaming on his desk, my footsteps echoing through marble halls with newfound resolve. The puppet strings would burn tonight. Any other demands? Feel free to state them. Ethan's pretentious demeanor made me sick. Here he was playing the devoted lover who'd never moved past his first love, yet kept stringing along different women like some B-list actor recycling the same tired romantic act for years. I stared coldly at Ethan. Just the divorce. That's my only requirement. The office air turned glacial. Ethan's obsidian eyes radiated icy dominance. After a prolonged silence, he snatched the divorce papers and signed abruptly. Fine. You'll get your divorce. Relief flooded through me as I carefully stored the documents. Thank you, Ethan. Thank you for teaching me how burning passion inevitably transforms into daggers through the heart. Leaving Foster Group headquarters, I went straight to schedule the procedure. The doctor kept pressing, the 6-month fetus was healthy. Was I certain? Needles seemed to pierce my heart as I whitened my knuckles gripping the consent form. How I longed to keep this child. But I'd never birth a bargaining chip. The next morning at the private hospital, I collided with Ethan gently guiding Luna, her flat stomach barely showing. Spotting me, Ethan stiffened before adopting his usual indifference. Get home after your checkup. Shouldn't be wandering around so pregnant. As he turned to leave, Luna piped up sweetly, darling. My prenatal vitamins are in the car? The moment Ethan left, her mask slipped. Fancy meeting you here, she purred, emphasizing also. So that's why the quick divorce he needed to legitimize his mistress. I moved to pass but she blocked me. That pink nursery you designed, expecting a girl? I had my blood tested in Hong Kong, it's a boy. Her saccharine smile intensified. Ethan's giving our son that nursery. Oh. And I burned all those frilly dresses. Clutter. You understand. Before she finished, my palm cracked across her face. Luna stumbled against the wall, tears magically welling as Ethan returned. Have you lost your mind? He wrenched my wrist, sending me crashing into a fire extinguisher. White pain exploded as I slid down the wall clutching my belly. Ethan didn't glance at my agony, fussing over Luna instead. You wanted this divorce, Ivy. Why the jealousy now? If anything happens to Luna's baby, control your songbird. Ethan. I gasped through the haze. Luna erupted in coughs, clutching his sleeve. I only wanted to check on her. My poor darling. Ethan crooned, sweeping her away. Ivy. You're free. Let's finalize the divorce paperwork at the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow at 10 a.m. His voice carried glacial detachment as he strode away without sparing a glance at me huddled in the corner. The harsh intercom shattered the silence. Patient Ivy. Report to operating room 2 immediately. Ethan's eyes flickered to the scrolling name on the digital display, throat working soundlessly. For one suspended moment, his gaze drifted toward me before he tightened his embrace around Luna and walked away. I signed the consent form with trembling hands. Ms. Grant. The surgeon confirmed. The fetus is viable at 24 weeks. You're certain about terminating? A violent kick rippled across my abdomen. Tears splattered the stainless steel table as I whispered. Yes. Darkness swallowed me whole during anesthesia, accompanied by fleeting memories of soap opera climaxes where heroes always arrived in dramatic rescues. Reality proved crueler, no last-minute redemption for Ethan, currently celebrating Luna's pregnancy while I extinguished our child's heartbeat. Our divorce proceedings next morning concluded with bureaucratic efficiency. Ethan failed to notice my deflated silhouette beneath loose clothing. Where are you going? He suddenly asked at the exit, uncharacteristic hesitation coloring his tone. Let me drive you. I declined. He lingered anyway as we waited for my rideshare. You've lost weight, he remarked. Take care of yourself. His unexpected civility reminded me how long it had been since we spoke without venom. I'll provide child support and company shares once the baby comes, he added, still convinced I'd keep his offspring. How little he understood I'd never martyr myself for his imaginary nuclear family. The car pulled away, Ethan's figure shrinking in the rearview until traffic swallowed him. Perhaps loneliness briefly touched his corporate prince demeanor, but more likely my exhausted eyes deceived me. During recovery, travel vlogs became my sanctuary. I bookmarked Airbnbs to Tibetan prayer while rituals and Mediterranean sunrises. When bank statements showed sufficient digits, I packed 2 suitcases and flew to Dolly. Freedom, I discovered at my lakeside cottage, wasn't aimless wandering but choosing when to stay or depart. Dawns found me wrapped in local textiles, watching sunlight shatter across a rye lake into liquid gold. The wind carried forgotten whispers, not of love lost, but of horizons awaiting exploration. In the glass greenhouse of the bed and breakfast, I brewed a pot of rose-infused pu'er tea while writing under dappled sunlight filtering through vines onto my laptop screen. During breaks, the innkeeper taught me to make flour pastries. Time itself seemed to saunter here, when inspiration flowed freely into words. My latest novel became an instant sensation, 10 million online reads and royalties granting financial freedom. I replaced my SIM card and deactivated WeChat before leaving, only informing my parents I'd be gone indefinitely. Now only my editor can reach me via email. No longer bound by Ethan's schedule or dietary preferences. I haven't touched the steaks I detest for 2 months. Recently, I realized a wry lake's breeze had gently mended me. Memories of Ethan no longer pierce my chest. And my vibrant self has re-emerged. A month after divorcing Ivy, Ethan stood in his walk-in closet scowling at rows of dress shirts. The new housekeeper couldn't coordinate outfits like she used to. Forgetting cedar-scented starch for collars and brewing coffee wrong despite using the same beans and machine. Returning late, he instinctively called Ivy. I'm home to empty echoes. He told himself this discomfort would pass, just as he'd adapted to married life during those 6 years. But when the fourth housekeeper failed, Ethan confronted the truth. Ivy's presence had permeated every mundane detail he'd taken for granted. Luna repeatedly asked to move in, but Ethan reflexively refused. He'd only brought her home previously to provoke Ivy. When Luna miscarried during a commercial shoot, Ethan offered entertainment contracts and ended things. Even without the accident, you'd never have carried to term, he coldly stated at the hospital. We both know you've had other sponsors. Insomnia plagued him now. Visiting his mother's estate, Mrs. Foster tooted at his haggard appearance. Ivy finally got you keeping decent hours. And now you're back to wrecking your health with those floozies? She'd never approved of the divorce. The Grants might lack their wealth, but Ivy had been perfect daughter-in-law material. Ethan stared at moonlight slicing through drapes. Throat tight. The playboy who'd considered extramarital affairs harmless distractions now faced an empty bed, realizing too late how thoroughly Ivy had anchored his chaotic world. Ethan had heard these cliched arguments countless times and cut off Mrs. Foster impatiently. What's so great about her? She's just faking innocence to fool everyone. If she hadn't schemed to drive Amelia away 6 years ago, I'd never have married her. His expression darkened at the memory. Ivy had been his junior in college. Back then, he'd admired the soft-spoken girl with her gentle demeanor. After graduation, he'd immediately made her his personal assistant. That fateful night at the business dinner, he'd drunk too much and booked a hotel suite. Concerned, Ivy stayed to care for him. Having just started dating Amelia, Ethan honestly reported the incident. Yet Amelia threatened to break up, claiming Ivy sent her compromising bed photos of them. Blackout drunk, Ethan couldn't defend himself. He didn't truly love Amelia. Their relationship began as casual companionship amidst friends teasing. But no man enjoys betrayal by a trusted subordinate. Later, for reasons he still didn't understand, Ethan proposed to Ivy. On their wedding night, the bloodstain on the sheets only confirmed his suspicion of her manipulation. Had there been flickers of affection before? Perhaps. But from that day forward, whatever existed died. Mrs. Foster gasped. That internet celebrity you dated? What does Ivy have to do with this? I was the one who made her leave. The Wilsons recognized her as Mr. Wilson's former mistress. When I checked her medical records, she produced thick files. She knew she was compromised. Took $20,000 and vanished. Ethan froze. Why hide this? You were too proud. Though you must remember insisting on your full STD panel? Realization dawned. Wait, you thought Ivy schemed? You married her without love? She slammed her teeth down. Ethan. After all these years, you still don't know Ivy's character? Indeed. He should have known best. He remembered her guileless eyes lighting up during conversations. Her tender coaxing of stray cats. Her innate kindness had first drawn him to her. The resentment he'd nurtured for years suddenly deflated. Not that he'd admit fault. Without omniscience in Ivy's silence, how could he have known? Comforting himself that her devotion remained, he calculated her due date. Leaving the estate, he instructed his assistant, book premium postnatal care. Prepare 5% Foster Group shares transfer to Ivy. The assistant soon called back. Sir, Mrs. Foster's number is disconnected. An uneasy Ethan drove to Ivy's apartment. After unanswered rings, a neighbor said, "Ms. Grant hasn't been here for weeks." The Grants received him nervously. They hadn't seen their daughter either. Casually dismissing her pregnancy-fueled tantrum. Rising to leave, Ethan muttered, "Just a marital spat. I'll find her." He wasn't actually confident either. He hadn't returned to the Grant family. Where else could Ivy possibly go in the capital city? Where had she been staying these past 2 months while heavily pregnant? Only now did he realize how deliberately he'd avoided learning anything about Ivy over the years, her friends, her hobbies. Something was pressing against his heart. Faint and insignificant yet undeniably present. Clutching his chest, Ethan drove straight to the hospital where Ivy had her prenatal checkups. They'd surely have her emergency contacts and address. But when he pulled strings to access her medical records, the revelation struck like lightning. Ivy had undergone an abortion procedure the day before their divorce. He never imagined the woman who'd hesitate to step on an ant could terminate her own child. Their 6-month-old fetus had already been kicking inside her during their final days together. He'd felt those movements himself, secretly marveling at life's miracles. Only now did Ethan belatedly understand. He regretted everything. The innkeeper appeared barely 40. Yet unexpectedly had a son only 2 years my junior. Liam, the freelance musician, had returned to Dolly for respite between projects. We often shared tea in the greenhouse, our hands occasionally brushing when reaching for the pot, lingering touches met with knowing smiles. Sometimes we'd talk until stomachs growled. Then wander night markets savoring local snacks. Floral, scented breezes tangling our laughter. The mutual attraction remained unspoken. Both of us fiercely guarding our freedom. I'd assumed this tranquility would last until Ethan materialized at the inn. Travel worn and haggard. Not surprising he'd found me, the man had resources. But shocking that he'd bother. Shouldn't he be reveling with his new lover now that I'm gone? Under the porch light, Ethan's face looked drawn. The charismatic magnate I knew had vanished, replaced by this diminished figure radiating helplessness. "Ivy," he rasped, "why did you terminate our child?" My laugh held knives. "Only asking now? You were outside the clinic that day with your new girlfriend. Remember?" Instead of confrontation, he fumbled awkwardly before extending his palm, the shattered pearl bracelet I'd destroyed during our separation. Meticulously wrist-wrung. 2 beads were missing. He murmured. I searched everywhere. I stared at the mended jewelry without taking it. "Keep it. I'm done with symbolic gestures." When he reached for my wrist, I stepped back sharply. "Come home," he pleaded, voice cracking. "Let's start over." Cold realization dawned as I recalled his jealous glare toward Liam earlier. Is this about territorial pride? Ethan? Can't stand seeing your discarded toy in someone else's hands? That's not. Of course it is. I cut him off. The golden boy who gets everything effortlessly. Discarding treasures others kill to obtain. Now that I'm thriving without you, suddenly I'm worth chasing? You're cheating. The gaslighting. Dismissing my pain as manipulation. Did you think I'd always wait? He stood frozen, unfamiliar with this razor-edged version of me. Turning away, I locked myself in my room. The click of the bolt final as guillotine drop. If I hadn't checked Foster Group's stable operations online, I might have believed divine justice had finally struck Ethan with bankruptcy. He'd rented the room next to mine at the guest house indefinitely, settling in for the long haul. Every dawn brought breakfast deliveries to my doorstep. During my walks, he'd trail 3 paces behind like a ghosted shadow. While I wrote, he'd occupy the adjacent table with his laptop, our keyboards clicking in dissonant rhythm. His courtship arsenal ranged from first edition books by my favorite authors to premium theater tickets. Thin walls betrayed his midnight conference calls. Hushed negotiations bleeding through pine wood panels. Long-term residents would tease. But my glacial indifference turned his grand gestures into stones sinking soundlessly into dark waters. Even Liam questioned why I couldn't forgive. What woman rejects a reformed billionaire Prince Charming? None understood that betrayal cuts deeper than infidelity. My second life wouldn't risk revisiting that cliff-edge despair. Memories persist, tumbling downstairs. Clutching my swelling belly. Watching Ethan escort Luna through our doorway instead of calling 911. His fabricated alibi painted me as a careless tragedy. My own family accepted his blood money at the funeral. Their grief monetized into silence. When Ethan appeared with another blue boxed jewelry, I dumped the roses into compost. Ethan. I met his hopeful gaze evenly. Let's stop this charade. We're both busy people. His fingers twitched towards mine. Ivy. I know I don't deserve. Choices dictate consequences. I cut through his rehearsed speech. You don't get to rewrite history. But I've changed. Desperation cracked his polished facade. Luna's gone, her sugar daddy's wife smashed her face in. She's become industry poison. The tabloid images flashed, Luna's reconstructed nose sitting crookedly under disgraced public figure headlines. My smile held no warmth. How poetic. His threat came coated in concern, Ivy. If you won't consider yourself, what about your family? The Grants thrive under foster protection. Ice crystallized in my veins. We terminated that contract along with our marriage. The DNC ensured no lingering connections. His flinch brought savage satisfaction. Keep harassing me, and I'll happily become your ex-wife who jumped from widow's walk. Would that satisfy you? Liam's return shifted our stalemate. Our budding romance bloomed through shared novels and hiking trails. Until Ethan intercepted us mid-kiss under magnolia blossoms. His fist connected with Liam's jaw, cracking like walnut shells. She's my wife. The animalistic snarl startled even me. I shielded Liam, his blood staining my sleeve. Touch him again and I'll have you arrested. Mr. Foster. The honorific hung like an executioner's blade. This is Liam. My boyfriend. Ethan's collapse came quietly, abandoned breakfast trays. Silent departures before dawn. But 3 Thursdays later, he reappeared with airport tags still on his carry-on, muttering about emergency shareholder meetings. His persistence took manic forms, red-eye flights from Manhattan, board meetings conducted from my porch, quarterly reports left conspicuously open to impressive profit margins. The final unraveling occurred during Liam's art exhibition. As we toasted with Prosecco, Ethan materialized with custody papers. Ivy. His whisper carried across champagne flutes. Our baby would have been 6 today. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Liam's brushstrokes froze mid-canvas. I sipped calmly, meeting his psychological warfare with museum-perfect poise. Funny. Considering you watched me bleed out our 8-week fetus in the ER. Your signatures on the medical release forms. Turning to our stunned audience, I raised my glass. To art that reveals truth. Yes. Ethan's empire built on controlled narratives crumbled that night. By morning, Foster Group stocks dipped 2.3%. By week's end, my memoir proposal sparked bidding wars. Let him play tragic hero in his corporate dramas. I've chapters to write, trails to hike, and a certain artist's split lip to kiss better. The guest house still hums with gossip. But these days, the whispers taste sweeter. Only then did he realize I truly no longer belonged to him. That same day, Ethan boarded his private jet to return to the capital city. The aircraft crashed during landing, killing all 3 crew members and 2 passengers. Out of humanitarian duty, I flew back for his funeral. The lawyer handed me a will and multiple insurance policies. Ethan had named me as the sole beneficiary on all his policies and legally notarized me as the only heir to his entire estate. I felt no gratitude. Belated affection is cheaper than weeds. Nothing Ethan did could undo the harm he'd caused. I didn't keep the money for myself. With these funds, I built roads through mountain regions, established Hope primary schools, and created foundations to support out-of-school children. The fortune transformed from cold digits in bank accounts into something living, taking root where needed, blossoming into tangible hope.